Now, tonight, this is going to sound perhaps like a confession, even an embarrassing one. But here goes. I have always liked Keir Starmer. Worse, I think he's a fundamentally decent man in politics for the right reasons. So I say the following with genuine sadness, but I think we have entered the final stage of the Starmer premiership. I don't know exactly how or when the end will come. Often these things are a surprise, and there are circumstances, if nobody moves, if everybody waits back, in which he could carry on unhappily enough, at least until the summer. But listening to furious, disillusioned Labour MPs and reflecting on his frankly unconvincing performance earlier this afternoon on the Mandelson affair, it feels as if we have reached a tipping point. Too many misjudgments, too much authority lost, too little direction. I really see no way back. Now that's a solemn thing to say because, of course, we can't know what might follow. What about Ukraine? What about the bond markets? What about relations with Trump? I know. But politics is all about authority and direction. In the Commons this evening, the government has made a headlong retreat to stave off a massive rebellion. It's all about who has control over which Mandelson messages and documents are released. After insisting passionately it had to be number 10, Starmer seems now to be giving it up to MPs who are members of the Intelligence and Security Committee. Angela Rayner, the ousted Deputy Prime Minister, is being credited with saving his bacon after a panicky afternoon. But Downing Street's embarrassing surrender of control tells you by itself a lot. My assumption is that Starmer will now get through that vote, but then comes the by-election, and then come the Scottish and Welsh and local elections. And if they are remotely as bad as seems likely for Labour, then Keir Starmer's decision to appoint Peter Mandelson Washington ambassador, even while knowing, as he admitted today, that his friendship with Epstein continued after the latter's conviction for child sex offences, will be a big part of the story. And who is to blame for that? Let's turn now to somebody who knows the Prime Minister very well, his biographer, Tom Baldwin.
Hello.
I think you like Keir Starmer, as I like Keir Starmer, but you must be looking at the last few days with some despair.
I think Downing Street is very frustrated. I mean, I was talking to them the other day about the stance he'd taken against Trump, and, you know, he basically publicly denounced what Trump had said about British troops serving in Afghanistan.
A very good moment.
And forced Trump to back down. And that happened at 4:57 p.m. And at 5 p.m, Andy Burnham announced that he wanted to stand for a by-election. Now, there is, you know, every time they try and get off the floor, something arrives from a relatively clear blue sky and lands on their head. and you know, it is frustrating for them. You can make the case that, you know, accumulation of blows means that now there's the moment that he can't recover. I would say gently that anybody who says in this very febrile, unstable political environment, in a pretty crucial time for this country and the world, that they know exactly what's going to happen next, may be making a mistake. I'm not going to predict he's going to stay. I certainly wouldn't predict that with any degree of confidence that he's got to go. And, you know,
I think this is all well said, and I take that very well. But let's talk a little bit about Keir Starmer, the man, because that's your speciality, as it were. Now, we can see that he has got flaws. He's not very good sometimes at judging people. He can use lawyerly language, as he did in the House of Commons, talking endlessly about process today, when it's not.
Well,
you need more than
process,
that. You need more than that, more than process. But he has also got extraordinary resilience, and in terms of how he will be absorbing what has been a really horrible series of blows for him. Talk us through that.
Yeah, look, I think they need a better story to tell about the Prime Minister, a better story to tell about the country, and a better story to tell about the government. And at the moment, the only story you would tell about the Prime Minister is that, you know, he's taken more blows to the head than any man should, and, you know, who's still alive. And that, you know, that resilience has to be turned into clarity about where they're going, and a degree of confidence that he can deliver it. I don't think that's impossible. And I think the current story about, you know, the biggest scandal ever, whatever you want to call it, primarily, look, this is a scandal about what happened on the previous Labour government. 5 years before Keir Starmer became an MP. Now, there is a separate question which Keir Starmer does need to answer about what he knew when Peter Mandelson was appointed as US ambassador. Now, he's confirmed that he knew about continuing links with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction. So did the media. So did all those commentators who now say it was obvious at the time this would be a complete disaster and this was a scandal. They didn't report it as a scandal at the time. A lot of people said it was a masterstroke. And that's why I say this.
I didn't say it was a masterstroke.
But he didn't point to Epstein.
And I didn't point to Epstein, but I did say a scandal will happen, because with Peter, it always does.
I agree. And I've known Peter Mandelson for more than 30 years.
And that's what Keir Starmer should have known,
I was
too.
a junior reporter in the Hartlepool Mail, and I can tell you it wasn't a particularly pleasant experience. Right? So I've known him a very long time. I think he's always been drawn to wealth and power. I think he's a bit of a narcissist. I think the idea of putting him into the current Washington, D.C., which is like a sweet shop for wealth and power and narcissism, wasn't a great idea. But the specific charge against him at the moment, that he should have known about Peter Mandelson's continuing links with Jeffrey Epstein in a way that the media didn't already know, needs to be examined by this inquiry. And people who prejudged that inquiry are not relying on facts and evidence and substance. They're relying on the usual Westminster currency of febrility and angst and mood, which is not a way that we should decide whether we change Prime Minister yet again after 1 or 2 years.
To be fair to some of my colleagues in the media, I mean, Jim Pickard of the Financial Times knew all about Mandelson's using Epstein's townhouse in New York when Epstein was in jail, and went to the Prime Minister and told him about it, and was brushed to one side.
And Jim Pickard deserves an enormous amount of credit.
He does. Yeah.
And certain journalists did talk about Epstein at the time. I look back at what I wrote at the time, and I said I thought it was a bit dangerous putting Peter Mandelson to Washington. I didn't say Epstein. So look, the people who are sort of pronouncing with such gravity that this is a scandal and Keir Starmer should have known, do need to shake their head sometimes and look at what they wrote at the time.
A country with a little bit more journalistic humility would be a better country. I can agree with that. All right, Tom Baldwin, thank you for that.